Welcome to Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
In this episode, the OGL. And what does it mean? Welcome to Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
We're going to be hitting upon what everybody else has been hitting upon in their channels. The whole OGL debacle. And what does it mean?
Well, so OGL is...
The Open Gaming License.
Okay. And...
which was with version 1.0A.
Okay.
And with Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, they decided to go with 1.1 and then 1.2 and then backed out and went to Creative Commons.
It's a lot of it's beyond me, I have to admit. I don't consider myself part of that controversy. I mean, we play, obviously we play games, but I've never dug into that controversy. So this is pretty much Delaney. So she's going to talk more about what it is.
So the OGL was a set of rules that when Wizards of the Coast bought TSR,
yeah.
Ryan Dancy came up with these guidelines. He was actually part of Legends of the Five Ring, and he worked out this whole transaction because Legends of the Five Ring was actually going to buy TSR.
Oh yeah.
With Lorraine Williams. Lorraine Williams absolutely hated Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
She hated Magic the Gathering and thought it was a blight on gaming, even though Lorraine was not much. She wasn't a gamer at all.
No, wasn't a gamer herself.
And she decided to sell the company to Ryan Dancy and Legend of the Five Rings because Wizards of the Coast was $30 million in debt.
Not Wizards of the Coast.
Not Wizards.
TSR.
TSR was $30 million in debt.
Yeah.
And there's some really good books which we'll be doing reviews on.
Yeah. About
all this. And so Ryan got the idea of working with Wizards of the Coast to purchase both Legends of the Five Ring and in getting TSR.
Yeah, purchasing them both at once.
At the same time. And Lorraine kind of hemmed and hawed about it and didn't like it, but she didn't see any escape out for TSR at the time.
So the OGL, the original gaming license, how does that play into what they decided at the very beginning when Wizards took over? Because, I know that's gone back and forth back then, but what we're really talking about more so is how it's playing out right now in this world, in today.
Right. So the Open Gaming License, basically, you can't copyright game mechanics.
Okay.
But there are things that you can copyright within, whether you're casting Magic Missile or, maybe Fireball and things like that. Okay, so, and then some of the monsters that might have been created.
Sure.
There are a lot of monsters that you can't use, like the Mind Flayer and Beholder.
Yeah. Because
those are strict license within TSR / Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro Wizards of the Coast.
They're original creations.
Right, original creations.
Yeah.
Now, you can't copyright strength, dex, con, intelligence. You can't copyright those. Okay. So those are kind of, you can't touch those. But when 3.0 came out, they came out with the OGL, the 1.0 license, which was irrevocable. Ryan will say, you can't revoke it, you can't terminate it in any way, shape, or form. And then Wizards of the Coast obviously said, oh, no, we can, and we're going to do it. And it really put the gaming community up in arms.
Yeah.
Now, I've played every edition. I played the original Jerry Combs Basic, and then the original Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, we call it.
Yeah.
And then when TSR booted Gygax out and Lorraine picked it up, they came out with 2.0, and I played 2.0. Those editions didn't have an open gaming license. They were very strict. And in fact, when Gygax and Lorraine were both, Lorraine Williams were in charge, they would actually go after people who used anything very similar or even used their name in any way, shape, or form. They were very, very sue happy and would go after people.
Their whole thing was, we've got to protect the core intellectual property that we have.
Right.
We can't let people do this type of wizard. We can't have them do this type of spell, because there were a lot of people out there who were copying Dungeons and Dragons. Tunnels and Trolls, you know, Wizards and Whack Jobs. I mean, whatever. I mean, there were a lot of different things.
Yeah, swords and sorcery type games.
Yeah, there were a lot of swords and sorcery type games that were coming out to try to you know, bite at the corner of this rising wave of fantasy role playing games.
Right.
And the thing is the big player on the block didn't want the little players to take so many kind of bites, and so one of the ways to do that is take them to court.
Right, and shut them down.
Yeah.
Which was funny because TSR was doing the exact same thing with Tolkien.
Yeah.
And John Carter of Mars and a few other things.
Yeah.
That were out there. But those were two of the big ones that they got a cease and desist on.
Well, the big thing, of course, and this is kind of in the lore of TSR, is the hobbits.
Yes.
We have, you know,
treants.
And treants too.
Right.
So they have to call them halflings. They can't call them hobbits, because hobbits are specific to Tolkien's universe.
Right.
Hobbits from Hobbiton, right? You can't have Hobbiton in.
Yep. Instead of the treant, you had they changed it to just an int.
Just an int. Yeah.
They couldn't use Balrog, so they changed that to another time of a demon.
What did they?
Balor, I think.
Balor, yeah. I knew it was something really similar to Balrog. It was Balor. So that's the whole concept idea of intellectual property, is that you come up with an original concept, and no one can. You're going to try to prevent people from taking that original concept from you, or at least making money off it.
Right. So when 3rd edition came out and they wrote this OGL 1.0A and they put it in all the books, it started opening up the doors for people going out and creating stuff for the game.
Yeah.
Instead of you only being able to buy TSR modules, you know, Dungeons and Dragons modules, they were wrote open for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, 3.5 had it. And then when Wizards decided to dump 3.5 and go to 4th edition got its own license. And they left the OGL 1.0 completely open, and that's where Pathfinder came in.
Yes.
Now, Pathfinder started off with... I can't think of her name right now. Cynthia
Williams.
Yes. Not Cynthia Williams.
Whatever. We'll write it up.
We'll write it up there. I'm going into a mind blank. But anyway, they wanted to publish Dungeon and Dragon magazines, and they did for a while. And then when that fell apart, when Wizards decided they wanted to get away from that and they decided to go into 4th edition, they said, hey, can we use these licenses? And Hasbro's like, absolutely. So we came out with Pathfinder. And Pathfinder 1st edition is basically what we call 3.75, which I'm sure all you know.
Yeah.
And that's the game that we actually play.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this whole OGL debacle, it really doesn't affect us or our group. It's hard for us to find players who want to play 1st edition or who want to learn 1st edition. They would rather play 5th edition.
Because, and this is kind of like, you know, why do people still drink Budweiser? Because it gets all the advertising, and they see all the cool commercials, and the Bud Dogs, and the Bud Girls, and the Clydesdales, and that's why people still drink Bud, because it's basically, you know, it gets all the publicity. But, you know, if you're a beer drinker and you drink Bud, you're kind of like, what is this that I'm drinking? Yeah. So that's the thing, is the process that gets all the publicity, and D&D gets a lot of publicity all the time. They got the money, they got the publicity, they've got the campaigns going, all that stuff. No one really knows about Pathfinder, despite the fact that Pathfinder, in my opinion, Pathfinder is the much superior system.
Yeah. And with when 4th edition came out, there were a lot of people who didn't want to play 4th edition. We were one of them. We looked at the 4th edition book and we were like, this is just not for us. It was too much like playing an online game, tabletop.
Yeah.
It's like playing World of Warcraft tabletop,
Yeah,
and
they
we
had-
just we didn't like it. In our group, who was playing 3.5 at the time, we were kind of like, where do we go from here? Well, do we keep playing 3.5, or do we jump ship and go to 4th edition? And not a one of us liked what we saw.
Yeah.
And we were seeing the 3.5 playtest books, and two of us had looked at them and thought, wow, this is good. And then the hardback book came out, and we're like, wow, this is a lot like 3.5.
3.5. Yeah.
And we all
Pathfinder
decided
1.
to go to it. And
Yeah,
then,
Pathfinder First Edition.
Right.
Yeah.
And then later on, when Wizards came out with 5th edition, we actually had a bunch of our group say, well, we don't want to play Pathfinder anymore. We want to go play Dungeons and Dragons.
Again.
Again.
Because here again, like I said, they get all the press. They get all the publicity. Everybody wants to play what's new, the new brand. You want to have the new thing, to not just like, well, what's wrong with Pathfinder? It works fine. You can mod it to fit any kind of campaign you want. The rules are there. Yeah, but we want something that's new, that's flashy,
It's
that has
easy to play.
That's easy to play. That's exciting. Haven't you seen the commercial where all the kids are sitting around the table laughing and they're playing D&D? Okay, sure, fine, but that's a commercial, and we know what Pathfinder does. We know what we can do with it. Why are we breaking up our group? Because some people want to play 5th, and other people want to keep staying in Pathfinder.
Now, it's funny because when I talk to people that I'm an RPG player, I don't say I play Dungeons and Dragons. I say I'm one of the few people that say I play Pathfinder. And what is Pathfinder? Well, it's like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's crunchier. It's got more rules to it. It's meat and potatoes. I've played 5th edition. It's not bad. It's light, and not. I don't want to have anybody take this wrong, but I look at 5th edition as being a McDonald's cheeseburger, fry, and a Coke. It's good. It fills you up. It's kind of yummy. You kind of want it sometimes. And then you got Pathfinder First Edition. Pathfinder First Edition is like a 7-course meal. That book has got everything that you can imagine. You want to fight from horseback? It's there. You got higher terrain? It's there. You want to fight underwater? It's there. You want to fight on top of the water? It's there.
Yeah.
You want to have aerial combat?
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, it covers everything pretty much.
It's everything. Whereas 5e, it does leave a lot to the Dungeon Master's mind and what he wants to do, and in trying to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you've got Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't played Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I've looked into it. I've got most of the books, and it's something that I actually do want to play. But I look at 2nd Edition Pathfinder as being more like a 3-course meal. You're going to enjoy it. You can have the customization. It's got all the rules there. It's going to be fun. There are some really great things with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, like the 3-action economy, which is really cool. The one rule that Tom, if you've watched these episodes, that you'll talk about that you should raise a level every time. And in Pathfinder, it's 1,000 experience points per level, or 2,000 experience points, or 3,000 experience points, based on how you do the. Is it easy? Is it medium? Or is it hard?
Yeah.
So you're raising levels at a much more faster rate instead of, playing 2 adventures and you're now 2nd level, and playing 3 adventures and now you're 3rd level, and playing 4 times and now you're the next level, and then playing 5 times and you're next.
Yeah.
It gets tougher and tougher and tougher as you level.
Yeah.
So, and I will be happy to say that I was really happy to see that Hasbro Wizards of the Coast backed down from their OGL 1.2 and dumped everything into Creative Commons. Now, happily, Pathfinder Paizo has gone to what they call the ORC, or the Oracle, which is the gaming license that I think they've had like 150 companies jump in with them. What I'm really confused and sad about is everybody who has decided to still play 5th edition. And our local gaming store has dumped all of their Pathfinder and Starfinder product, putting it up for 50% off, which is great if you want to buy into that. And they're focusing just on the 5e, even with the the whole OGL debacle. And the way I see things is, I still hear people saying that, I don't care, I'm still going to play 5e. Now, nobody's ever going to say that you have to jump to one D&D or 6th ed, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
No one ever says that you have to go from 1st edition to 2nd edition to 3rd edition. We actually have a friend who still plays 2nd edition, and he thinks it's a lot better. There are things about 2nd edition that were kind of fun. It is a lot more deadly, but you don't have the character customization, which is what I loved in 3rd edition and 3.5 and Pathfinder 1st edition and even 2nd edition.
Yeah.
2nd edition was actually starting to come out with that in some of the books, but it was very crunchy in the rules and made it very complex to do it. So what does the OGL mean? Well, it just means that Paizo is gaining ground in some areas, and it's starting to get some of the publicity. Unfortunately, they don't have the big money like Budweiser to
and I use Budweiser as a metaphor.
Right.
Okay. What I really mean is, like, D&D, because it's got such a hold over our popular imaginations, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons while your kids are turning into Satanists. When I talk about people ask me at work, and it's like, what are you going to do tonight? We got a gaming group. Oh yeah, what kind of games do you play? Oh, we play Pathfinder. Pathfinder, what's that? And so I usually say, well, it's like D&D, but it's a different rule system. Oh, that's kind of cool. I got my son plays D&D a lot with his friends. He loves it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's great. Pathfinder's a little bit different. It's a little more complex. Yeah. Oh, cool. But I mean, that's as far as it goes. So everybody knows really someone who plays D&D most of the time. But not everybody really knows someone who plays Pathfinder, because Pathfinder is a little more complex. It's for the people who really get deeper into the role-playing aspect of the game. A lot of times,
crunchier rules.
Yeah, with tighter rules and expanded horizons. I'm not saying 5th edition or even 4th edition is bad for the people who play it, but what we prefer to play, Pathfinder, fits our idea of what a campaign should be.
It is slower when it comes to combat.
Yeah.
But I don't look at that. I look at it as almost like playing a war game. A tabletop war game.
Yeah.
Those things took a long time to play.
Those are slow too.
They could be real slow.
Yeah.
I don't want my attention span is not to. I don't want something that I'm going to be done within 4 hours.
Yeah.
I want something that I'm going to really bite into and meet. I want the whole. I want the whole Robert Jordan campaign. I want the whole Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, Hobbit. Novels and the whole Dritz Durdan saga, the whole Dragonlance novels. That's what I want. I don't want something that's just so quick and easy to play. I want something that I actually have to think and stimulate my mind. My job in real life is so mental that it's my escape, and having something that's more crunchy kind of helps me with that.
We were talking about before a different time that the 4th edition and 5th edition were created essentially for gamer people, for people who played a lot of video games, so that you could speed up the action, make them more linear, make them follow a path, whereas Pathfinder is more like an open world game, like Skyrim or Morrowind, okay? Whereas 5th edition and 4th edition are more like those more linear type of games that you play that get a lot of airplay, and people say, I solved the game in 20 hours or whatever. And you're like, okay, yeah, I solved it in 25 hours because I followed the pathway as I went from here to here to here, boss fight to boss fight to boss fight, and then
all
I solved
the little side quests and everything else.
Whereas Pathfinder is more like those big giant Bethesda games that you could invest 100 hours in and still never get anywhere near solving the main quest.
You can make either one as complex as you want, really. Yeah. But with Pathfinder, you do have a lot more crunch to it. Yeah. And once again, we're real happy that, and we've jumped on board fully supporting Paizo for what they came out and did with, the orc, and saying, hey, we're going to fight this. Now, fortunately, they don't have to, but it showed us that Paizo was really more behind the gamer than what Hasbro Wizards of the Coast. You've got And the reason I say Hasbro Wizards of the Coast is because Hasbro, who owns G.I. Joe and Power Rangers and other toys, bought Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast because they saw it as a money-making venture.
Well, sure,
and it is.
And that only makes sense. As you're a big capitalist group, you want to expand into these other areas. That makes sense. But is a large group like that going to be more reactive to the needs of a gaming community? Pathfinder and Paizo is way more reactive to the needs of a gaming community because
that's why they did it with Pathfinder when 3.5 went away.
Yeah, that's why Pathfinder came out. And that's why Pathfinder Second Edition came out, because it was addressing some of the basic issues that Pathfinder First Edition has.
They wanted to break away. They really wanted to break away from the OGL. Now, even though they have the OGL in the back of the book, Pathfinder Second Edition is a totally different game.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
So,
it's you got your same character classes and everything else, but they started breaking away from things.
Yeah.
And it's a good system.
I mean, eventually we'll probably go to it because it's one of those things where we want to kind of evolve our game, not leave anything behind, but we want to evolve it to the point where we're more reactive to what's happening within the game.
And with Starfinder.
Yes, with Starfinder too. Of course, we're gonna set up a Starfinder campaign.
Yeah, one of our current players, Josh, Tom asked him if he ever thought about becoming a GM because he's a real sharp young guy.
Yeah,
smart,
real smart.
And he said I hadn't thought about it. And then when he started thinking about it, he's like, I think I'd like to run a Starfinder. And we're like, we're there, we're ready to play.
Totally.
I was actually going to run it,
sci-fi.
but we're real happy that he's going to do that. So we've been buying up the books for Starfinder, and so that way we've got them. We had a few of them, the core rule book and Starships and one other, the Alien book, but we decided to go whole on hog, supporting Paizo because of what Paizo is doing and backing. So what does the OGL mean to us? Well, it doesn't really mean anything to us except for we're supporting Paizo because we see Paizo as the small company who really cares about the gamer.
Yeah, who is more reactive to the needs of the gamer.
Right.
And that's, to me, that's how game companies should be. They should be more
reactive. Listen to your players.
Yeah,
listen to your
players.
consumer.
Listen to your
consumer. You anger your consumer is going to bail on you.
Yeah. People are fickle. They'll stick around as long as it's good to stick around. But when it isn't, they'll vote with their feet. And then they're gone.
Yeah, it's like a restaurant that gets bad reviews. People are going to jump and leave.
Yeah.
And pretty soon the place is going to go up. So with that, we're going to end this episode of Wizards of the Tower.
Role play.
May all your adventures be epic.
And keep on rolling.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.